Okay, so mine's on chapter 2. It's basically the entire chapter 2 of the food politics book is basically talking about the food pyramid. And 1991, opposing the food pyramid, the U.S. Department of Agriculture Secretary Edward R. Madigan rejected the printing of the latest food guide, claiming that it would confuse children and low-income families. Marion Nestle explains in the chapter that he was not acting in the interests of the children, but at the pressure put on him by the meat and dairy industries. The meat and dairy industries were complaining that their products would be stigmatized by being placed in a narrowed eat less column of the food pyramid. Building the pyramid. In April 1992, the USDA released a new and improved Eating Right pyramid after 1 year of research and almost $1 million of money put into that research. There were only a few changes made to the new pyramid from the original pyramid that they had. And unlike the basic 4 boxes that they used to have before the food pyramid, the pyramid is hierarchical so that you could see, like, visually what you're supposed to eat less of. Industry representatives preferred a bowl and pie charts because they did not stack the food groups into evident hierarchies. But nutrition professionals preferred the pyramid because they conveyed the intended messages. And right here you can see the original that they had back in the 70s. And then in 1991, that's the food pyramid that they came up with. And then this was the bowl idea that they had. Meat and dairy producers preferred a bowl design over the pyramid because they thought the bowl shape suggested greater equivalence among the food groups, which completely went against what they were trying to do with the pyramid. They hired a company called Bell Associates. They were a consulting firm and tested the value of the pyramid and the bowl. They concluded that children, minorities, and low-income adults preferred the bowl design, not because they understood the intended messages better, but because people associate bowls with food. And then the bowl versus the pyramid. The USDA was faced with a difficult dilemma, with no research proving one design was better than the other. They hadn't done any research on either or. So they had 2 options. They could select the pyramid design and run the risk of embarrassment over the delay and costs and opposition with food producers. Or 2, they could choose the bowl design, which would be completely political and no scientific backing whatsoever. So to solve it, the USDA and the DHHS made a committee, and they recommended that the Bell Company analyze the data for both designs using a scoring system. And when they did the scoring system, it suggested that both conveyed the need for variety in food intake, but the pyramid did better with proportionality and moderation. Both, though, got low scores, which meant that neither was particularly effective in telling people what to do. In March, Marion Burroughs of the New York Times revealed these problems in an article. This put added pressure on the USDA to get the pyramid out as soon as possible. And then it's a picture. So this is the FDA to retool food guide pyramid, citing consumer confusion. This was the design that they came up with. That's not much different than the 1991 version. This is what $1 million paid for. The title was changed from Eating Right to Food Guide. The recommended servings are located outside of the pyramid instead of inside, and the servings of meat were increased to make the meat companies happy. Food for thought. Eating Right was changed to Food Guide simply because Kraft Foods said the title infringed on its copyright of prepared meals, and also because ConAgra complained that it gave Kraft marketing advantage. Secretary Madigan preferred the bowl design and was unhappy with the pyramid, but denied being under any pressure to release the pyramid. And then this is talking about the subsidies where the government money goes to fund. And as you can see, it goes to the meat and dairy industry, which is why it took so long for them to release the pyramid. And then this is kind of how it's changed over the years. And as you can see now, we sort of have a plate design. In the end, the food pyramid made it too evident that food choices should be hierarchical. Reporters used this incident to highlight the conflicts of interest at the USDA and to criticize the role of lobbyists influencing federal policy. For the USDA and other health professionals, this had been resolved satisfactorily In the instance, science won over politics because they went with one that had some scientific backing instead of just making the meat and dairy producers happy. The slightly more effective design survived. And my wow moment was the food guide underwent 3 years of research to establish the basic elements such as serving sizes, nutritional goals, and appropriate number of servings for each food group. The proportions of the food pyramid has increased to an astonishing 67% from what it originally was back in the 70s. Madigan was not consulting his staff and was not properly informed about the pyramid prior to its withdrawal. And then here is a picture with the Congress and the food lobbyists telling people if you want extra vegetables on your pizza. And my skeptical moment was in 1992, the Wall Street Journal predicted that the pyramid would accelerate shifts in consumption patterns away from products high in animal fat such as red meat and cheese while spurring further development of low-fat products. This prediction has only proved partially correct. And consumption of premium ice cream and American cheese, for example, has increased. But I also found that the supply of low-fat milk rose from 5.8 to 15.5 gallons during the same time, but that of soft drinks rose from 24 to 53 gallons. People traded their fat for sugar. So they basically traded whole milk for soda. And despite the introduction of artificial sweeteners, the supply of calorie-laden sweeteners, sugars, corn sweeteners, and honey has gone up since then. Because of the inconsistencies in the data, the trend in fat intake is harder to discern. And then here's a graph of how much people drink regular soda versus diet soda, and 70% to 29%. That's it.